You're listening to 15 Minutes, where we feature community leaders sharing what the rest of us should know but likely don't. Hi, Chad Franzen here, one of the hosts of Share Your Voice, where we talk with top-notch law firms and lawyers about what it takes to grow a successful law practice. This episode is brought to you by Gladiator Law Marketing, delivering tailor-made services to help you accomplish your objectives and maximize your growth potential. To have a successful marketing campaign and make sure you're getting the best ROI, your firm needs to have a better website and better content. Gladiator Law Marketing uses artificial intelligence, machine learning, and decades of experience to outperform the competition. To learn more, go to gladiatorlawmarketing.com, where you can schedule a free marketing consultation. John Risvold is a personal injury lawyer in Chicago who represents victims of trucking accidents, nursing home abuse and neglect, medical malpractice, and other catastrophic injuries. He's a partner at the Collins Law Firm and lives in suburban Chicago with his wife and 3 young kids. John, thanks so much for joining me today. How are you?
Hey, I'm great, Chad. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Hey, so tell me a little bit more about Collins Law and what the firm kind of does and specializes in.
Yeah, for sure. So my firm is a smaller personal injury plaintiff-focused firm. We help people that are hurt is the best way to describe it, truly. The firm started by my partner, Sean Collins, 30 years ago, and I'm joined by my other law partners, Rob DeWittiak and Ed Mansky. And those guys have been longtime mentors of mine and sort of showed me the ropes. And I'm thankful to now be, with them and have been with them for some time. We focus, like you said, on catastrophic injury cases. And we're, what I like to tell people, we're a trial firm. So when other firms or other lawyers need cases that are actually litigated, they need them brought before juries. That's what we do. We do it really well. And then the other sort of niche that we've carved out is our firm does a lot of environmental toxic litigation, kind of like Aaron Brockovich, groundwater contamination, soil contamination, cancer clusters, those sorts of things that have been, really, really rewarding ways to help communities and help people. So it's I tell people it's a lot of fun in a strange way because I get to work with my mentors and I know that I get to help people, even though they're going through something that's absolutely horrible.
What would you say makes Collins Law unique as a trial firm, especially compared to other law firms?
Yeah, I think that it's a team. We're not trying cases alone. We're always trying cases as a team. We're always focused on how we can help each other. Since the moment I walked in here as an associate, it's been an open door firm that treats everybody on the same level. The paralegals are treated as if they are the same as the partners. The associates are treated with the same deference the partners are treated. And that was a far cry from where I started my career on the defense side, where there was a very rigid structure and hierarchy. Our firm doesn't treat it that way. Yeah, there are people that are in certain positions that will take lead and things like that, but everybody's rowing the boat in the same direction. And I think that really makes a huge difference. It's also a place where there's no dumb questions. And I know other law firms, there can certainly be dumb questions, but here it's just very, very focused on how we can all work together to help our clients, because when our clients succeed, we all succeed.
You said you started your career on the defense side. Tell me how you kind of broke into the legal industry and kind of how things got rolling for you.
Yeah, so I never saw myself as a lawyer. I come from a family of educators and law enforcement officers and salespeople. And so I thought, I'm good at talking, I'll end up in sales at some point. And I kind of did, and we can talk about that. But I had a high school debate coach who I was really into debate in high school. I wasn't super athletic. They started throwing curveballs, so my baseball career was over pretty quick. And she put it in my head and said, this is something that I think you'd be good at. And there's no lawyers in my family, so I didn't have any sort of frame of reference. And I ended up going to law school. And when I was a second-year law student, my now wife and I started dating. And she introduced me to a family friend of theirs who was an estate planning lawyer. And I told him sort of what I wanted to do, and he started to help me and mentor me a little bit. And a couple of weeks later, he introduced me to Ed Mansky and Sean Collins, who are now my partners. And they became longtime mentors of mine. And I came out of school, took a job at an insurance defense firm because nobody was hiring at the time, and sort of cut my teeth working for large insurance companies in auto cases, premises cases, those sorts of things. And it's been nice to be on the plaintiff side now, not only because I help people, but it's kind of like moving from defense to the quarterback. Like I know what the defensive playbook looks like, and I know exactly what they're going to do. And so I have a little bit of a leg up because I've got their playbook in my back pocket. So that's been a nice advantage.
So your experience, so you can anticipate the opposing argument basically because of your experience as a defense attorney.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the experience as a defense attorney definitely helped shape the way I look at all of this. It made me more empathetic towards injured people because I realized I really didn't enjoy working on that side because I felt like I was taking from people. I felt like I was preventing people from actually getting justice. And I know that can sound sort of corny, maybe, but I really do. My friends sort of make fun of me. I am a true believer. I really do believe in this system. I really do believe that we're helping people. And I believe that the access to justice in the courtroom and a jury of your peers are the best way for people to get justice and even playing field.
Where did you go to law school?
I went to the University of Missouri. So I grew up in Kansas City, Missouri, and went there for undergraduate. Was going to go into journalism or business or something. And I ended up with an English degree, a degree in a language I already speak, and then went to law school there, mostly because I knew how expensive law school was. I knew what I wanted to do, where I wanted to be. I knew I wanted to be in Chicago. And all the Chicago law schools, they're great. All of them are great for setting you up to practice here, but they were 3 or 4 times more expensive than staying in Missouri was. And so I just worked really hard to network and meet as many people up here as I could while saving a ton of money by staying put.
So you said you kind of went into sales. What did you mean by that?
Yeah, so I think lawyers are very hesitant to recognize that this is a sales job, especially my job. I have to sell a judge and jury that my argument is first, I have to sell the judge my argument's worth getting past summary judgment or any motion to dismiss. Then I have to sell the jury that my client is somebody who needs to be compensated, and here's why. But beyond that, this is a very competitive industry. Personal injury work at any level, even fender bender cases, it's competitive, very competitive. There's millions and millions of dollars being spent on advertising. And so you have to convince clients and sell clients that you're the right choice for them. Sell, your referral sources that you're the right choice for them. And then you have to back it up with effectively a product, and we're the product, right? And I think that sort of mindset shift for me has really helped me grow our practice and build my practice, understanding that really everything is sales. It's sales and persuasion.
What was your mindset prior to realizing that?
That it was too competitive and too cutthroat, and if I didn't do it the way others had done it, I wasn't going to get ahead. If I didn't, put up a billboard or spend money on advertising, and how am I going to get this? How am I going to get a bank loan, or how am I going to get this money or that money to start advertising? It really doesn't start that way. It starts with personal connections and actually doing the things that I think very effective salespeople do, which is building trust and rapport and showing people that you're the right person to bet on.
Was there a kind of a I don't know, a aha moment that led to that?
I don't know that it was sort of aha as much as it was just something that I had been around so much and had heard so much. My dad was in sales for 30 plus years, my grandfather as well. And both of them always said, just remember, everybody's always selling something and everything is sales. And that sort of just kind of hung in the back of my head for a while. And you go to law school and they tell you, think like a lawyer, think like a lawyer. You have to act like a lawyer. No one tells you what that really means. And then you get out and practice, and especially in larger firms, there's a lot of rigidity, and it's, you need to think like a lawyer and act like a lawyer and do X, Y, and Z. And when I came over to the plaintiff side, what I found is that my clients appreciate that I'm not a lawyer, that I'm not talking to them with, $50 words, that I am a regular person, that I am like them, that I had, come from a background like them, and that I can relate to them as human beings. And that's really what I think a lot of it is. It's not necessarily one moment, but a lot of interactions with clients and with mentors where I realize it's not about thinking a certain way or thinking the way everybody else thinks. It's just about being a good human being and treating other people well and taking care of them and working hard for them. That really make a huge, huge difference.
At what point, relative to going to law school, at what point was your first ever trial that you were kind of like the lead attorney in?
Yeah, probably about, I'm trying to think, 4 or 5 years into my career, tried a slip and fall case and just fell flat on my face, lost. Um, I still, I remember telling somebody this the other day. I remember all of the cases that I've lost vividly, and the cases that I've won are much more blurry. Um, and it's just the way that my brain works. I am very motivated by not wanting to let my clients down. And so I remember, the client's name was Vanessa. And I remember distinctly just the look of disappointment on her face when the jury came back with a not guilty. It motivates you a lot to work that much harder. But I had that opportunity about 4 years or so into my career. Great opportunity, and I'm thankful for it. You learn so much by trying, so much more by trying cases than you do reading or practicing or anything else. So I'm thankful for it, but I still vividly remember the look on her face and the feeling of losing the first one out of the gate.
Yeah, I've heard my favorite basketball team is the Denver Nuggets. Their former coach used to always say like, losing is painful and it stays with you. Winning is just temporary relief. I don't
Yeah,
know if that's the same for you.
that's exactly how it feels. I like that a lot. It's exactly like that. I win a case and then I have this sort of brief, like, that's awesome. I feel great. And then there's this also, because every one of my clients is sort of a one and done. I don't have institutional clients that I bill.
Mhm.
There's also a moment of panic that sets in, like, oh my God, where's the next case coming from? Or when's the next one start? Or I got to go, work on this or work on that. And I don't, my wife gives me trouble about it all the time. I don't really take time to celebrate wins. But I definitely use the losses as fuel for sure.
What was your kind of when you did that first trial case? Um, what was the most I don't know if intimidating is the right word, nerve wracking? Like, was it going up against another seasoned attorney, actually speaking before a real judge? What was it?
No, I'm really comfortable with all that stuff.
Mhm.
My weakness, I think, is writing. So arguing motions in limine, I felt good arguing them, but I wasn't really confident in what I had written and what I had briefed. And then I think anytime you start, I still do it. Anytime you start jury selection, that first sort of quiet moment when you get up and everybody's staring at you and nobody wants to be there and nobody wants to talk to you. And then you have to start sort of convincing this group of people, hey, please talk to me. Please tell me what you think and what your opinions are and why you will or won't be the right person for this job as a juror. That moment feels like an eternity until somebody speaks up. Once they do, it's great and you're sort of rolling. But I think my biggest sort of anxiety is the anticipation. Um,
Yeah, I would imagine. So you came on to Collins Law as an associate. What kind of take me through the path toward becoming a partner?
yeah, I came on actually 2 weeks after my middle son was born. So I came on very sleep deprived. And the deal was that, we have a model here where it's a little bit of eat what you kill. And for me, that also was like sales. It's like working on a commission, kind of. And so that was really motivating for me. And the path from where I started to where I am started with just doing everything in my power to bring in business and to make connections in the community with other lawyers, doctors, anybody that I thought could be somebody who might be able to send me a case. And I didn't really think about it as what can you do for me as much as trying to focus on how I could help them or what I could do for them. And that paid a lot of dividends. And so it built pretty quickly. We have a firm that doesn't struggle to generate work on its own. So I wouldn't have had to do this. But I knew that these guys are my mentors and I knew that I wanted to be here. And I knew that once I got my foot in the door, this is where I wanted to stay. And I told them from day one that this is what I want. This is what I want to have happen. And they truly worked I think, just as hard as I did to help me make that happen. They gave me all the resources, all the opportunity, everything else. And so it's a credit to them as much as it is to anything that I did. I just thought if I work really hard and I do a good job for these clients and do a good job for people, everything will fall into place. And over time, it did, and they made me a partner a week and 6 days ago, or 7 days ago. So,
Oh,
or
nice.
no, a year and 7 days ago. I'm sorry, a year and 7 days.
Okay. Yeah. Well,
And
very,
so
very nice. Very nice. Did you have to um, actively take the mindset that you're there to help other people rather than what they can do for you, or were you just that big of a believer in what you were doing and that was your attitude?
a little bit of both. I think that when you're in that build mode where you're trying to really start to generate work, it's really easy um, to sort of panic, like, oh, it's not coming. It hasn't happened yet. It's not, no one's sending me anything. No one's referred me anything. But again, it's a lot of building trust and rapport. And so understanding that it's going to take a long time. I'm not a naturally patient person.
Mhm.
Uh, but thankfully I'm surrounded by people that are, and people that reinforce to me, especially my partner Ed reinforced to me, it's going to happen. It takes time. It is a certainty, not a question. And because of the work I was putting in, and what I was doing, what I continue to do to market our firm and our practice and everything else. And it's true, we're 6 years, almost 7 years later, and we have really, really great referral partners and co-counsel partners and all of that I didn't have 7 years ago, that in the last 3 years or so are very consistently working with us. And he's right, it just takes time. So it's a matter of just being persistent, not giving up, not quitting when you think you should or could, um, and it works out.
You mentioned that these guys that you work with have been your mentors and are your mentors. Is there anything specific that they have given you in terms of advice, or that you have learned from them just from working with them and observing them?
I think that the number one thing I learned from them was how to treat our clients as human beings, and the humanity that they express towards our clients, and the empathy and the kindness. It's not something that they really talk about in law school, or that I really saw when you're working with corporate clients or large insurance carriers or those sorts of things. It's not something that you do. It's a business on the defense side, and it's very sort of regimented in law school. I think it's law school is very focused on churning out lawyers that would do very well in large law firms or in the government, but the majority of us don't practice in large law firms or the government. And so I learned a lot of that from them. I learned a lot of how to take smart and calculated risks from them as well, which you have to do in order to get ahead. And then they gave me just opportunities beyond belief. I was at the firm about a year, and I tried a environmental case with Sean Collins, and it was about 2 days before our big expert was going to go on, and he turned to me. We were at the hotel, because it was out of town, and he turned to me and said, "Have you ever put on an expert at trial and done a direct exam of an expert?" And I hadn't. And I said, "No, I haven't." He goes, "Good, you're going to hear," and gave me all the tools and opportunity, and worked with me for a couple of days to make that happen. And it was an experience that I don't think a lot of lawyers get, unless the senior lawyers to them are willing to give those opportunities. And so I've tried to sort of pass that on to lawyers that are younger than me in our firm, or even those that we co-counsel with, because it's a really good way to pay it forward. It's not a thing that happens often in our profession, and it was huge for my development and huge for my growth as a lawyer, for sure.
Yeah, I would imagine. I would imagine that would be very, very valuable. Hey, I have one more question for you, but first, tell me how people can find out more about Collins Law.
Yeah, so you can find us on the internet, everywhere. Our website's collinslaw.com. It's COLLINS law.com. You can find me mostly, most of where I am and most of where I make a lot of my connections with other lawyers is on social media. primarily through Instagram. I found that if you actually use social media in the way that it's intended to actually be social with other people, and this was, my silver lining through COVID, if you use it to be social with other people, it actually works. And it's not just a, terrible highlight reel of people's lives. And so you can find me there as Riz Injury Lawyer. It's RIZ Injury Lawyer. And connect with me there. Let me learn a little bit more about, what you do, your practice, and how we can help.
Sounds great. Hey, last question for you. Are there any kind of daily rituals that you find particularly important?
Yeah. I think for me, the biggest daily ritual that I've found to be important is me driving my kids to school. I try to drive them to school every day. The benefit of having court by Zoom is that I get to most days. And my daughter's 8 and my son is 6. And then we've got the little guy who just turned 2. So I'm not driving him as much really anywhere. But the older two, they're starting to understand what we do and they're starting to ask questions. And it's wonderful to see how their brains work and how they're starting to grow. And it just gives me a lot of perspective. It's also a good opportunity to turn them on to my music and really good music. And the other sort of selfish thing when it comes to work is I find that if you can explain your cases to an 8-year-old and the 8-year-old gets it, or you can explain your argument to an 8-year-old and the 8-year-old goes, oh, yeah, no, that makes sense, then it's a winning argument. And if you can't explain it to them, go back to the drawing board. And so that for me has been my favorite daily ritual is that sort of 10, 15 minutes where I get to spend with them in the car, either listening to music or working through their problems or learning more about them. And I'm excited for that to continue until they're teenagers and then they don't want to hang out with me anymore, whatever it is, right?
Yeah, sounds good. Hey, what kind of music are you really hoping that they come to appreciate?
So far, they're big Beatles fans, and so I'm really happy about that. It started at 2 a.m, rocking my daughter to sleep, and the only song I could remember all the words to was Rocky Raccoon. And since then, it's been sort of off to the races with that great classic rock music. And but primarily, I'm a big Beatles fan, so I'm happy that they like the Beatles. But anything that I can turn them on to that's not bubblegum pop or radio pop is fine by me for sure.
Very nice. Hey, John, it's been great to talk to you. Thank you so much for your time and for sharing your stories.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. It's great to talk with you.
You as well. So long, everybody. Thanks for listening to 15 Minutes. Be sure to subscribe, and we'll see you next time.